What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the FN Story. A little bit different. Don't think I've had anyone that does photography or videography. Or well, maybe they do, but like not focuses on it. Anyway, long story short, have Zach's on here. Zach is a photographer, videographer, has some awesome shots. You guys have probably seen them. Also has done some other things outside of Fortnite, which I'm excited to talk about. A lot of Fortnite typically, but would love to talk about it all. What's going on, Zach?
What's going on? Great intro, little intro. Okay.
Hey, you
I
got
like
to,
it.
you
I like
know,
it.
you're coming on. You got to hype it up.
Yes,
And
sir. Yes, sir.
all right, so let's start off with like how you got started in photography, because you've now done a bunch of different stuff. I mean, heck, I'm on your website. There's a ton of different options here. If I just want to like, if I want my picture taken, it looks like you're my guy. Um, but how'd you get started in all of it?
Surprisingly, I got started. I didn't do it really as a career until I was outside of high school. But
Okay.
in high school, I was a student aide for my photography class. So I started around like my sophomore year of high school. I really liked like taking pictures when I was younger. I liked taking pictures. And when I got to high school, it was one of the electives that I had in for my classes. So I took it. I didn't think I was gonna like do it as a career. I never thought about doing it seriously. Then right after that first like after that year was done, my junior year, I applied to be a student aide to help the teacher teach the kid, teach the rest of the kids to how to do photography. And we actually started on film. We started on film photography.
Okay.
So I think from that until I graduated, I was student aide each year for about 3 classes out of the day. So what was good about it, while it didn't go to my credits, what was good about it, I basically had 3 free periods in the day as a junior too, and not even as a senior. So
Nice.
that was that was one of the, like, the best things, like, I still had enough credits to graduate and do all that. But yeah, that's basically how it started. When COVID hit, um, it was, the stimulus checks, the stimulus checks that they
Yeah.
gave? What I did with it is because since I have a lot of people in the house, like the family. I have like 2 other brothers. So I coulda I used my stimulus check to buy my first camera.
Wow.
So, like, I know FBI don't come at me, but but yeah, I used it to buy my first camera. It's a very weird period though. It was a very weird period because you can't really I couldn't really go outside.
Hmm.
And I had COVID that December. But when I bought it, I was like, man, like I love what I do, but like, how am I gonna make this a career? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Nah.
that's basically how I started. I started right in COVID, which is crazy.
Yeah, when nobody was allowed to get near you and you're trying to take
Right.
pictures of them. uh,
Exactly.
but that makes sense though. Like to stimulate, like the stimulus check, you used it for like your now business. I feel like you say FBI don't come after you. That seems
Yeah.
like almost the exact use that like you should be using it for, is to create then more business and
Yeah.
opportunities for yourself down the road. So, okay, we start in COVID. Do you just kind of start taking pictures and throwing them on the internet? Like, how do you even get a gig from anybody?
Oh, dude, it was so what I did, it was I didn't really talk to a lot of the people I talked to in high school at the time, but what I did is I reached out to the people I did know in high school.
Hmm.
And, I basically told them, I was like, "Yo, I will give you a photo shoot for completely free, and all you gotta do is just pose, like, we'll go to locations and stuff like that." So that's pretty much how I started it, was doing free shoots for, like, that whole year of COVID. I was doing free photo shoots for my friends and so that surprisingly, I still do free photo shoots for the same people that agreed to do it. You know what I mean?
Makes
Just
sense. You're
because of the
helping out
fact
the
that
people that started.
exactly, exactly. They helped me start, so I still repay them. Like now, I still do free shoots for them. But yeah, it was weird because like you can't have weddings. There was no weddings, so I didn't do weddings at the time. I really only did like lifestyle. Like you go outside, you bring a model with you, and you take some pictures. That's all I really did until after COVID ended. Is when I did weddings and all that. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Now, did that exclusively start with your friends? Like, I'm very curious
Yeah.
because For me, like with casting gigs, you just kind of have to find random events on the internet and be like, "Yo, let me cast that," and that's how I got started. But for you, I would imagine it's somewhat similar, like family, friends, then friends of friends, and like how do you kind of expand this into doing it all over the place?
Surprisingly, I never did shoots with family members, which is a little
Hmm.
like, that would be the go-to if you really think about it.
Yeah.
I did photo shoots with my friends mainly, but how I expanded was pretty much, hitting up different people, and also the friends that I did have at the time when I was doing photo shoots with them, they obviously would have connects to all their friends that need photo shoots done. So pretty much, I think, my first wedding that I did was right after COVID, and, I'm trying to think, yeah, I had a friend, I did her photo shoot, and she said, "I have this guy he's really big on TikTok, his name's, Rel the Remedy."
Okay.
He has, like, 1,000,000 followers on TikTok. I didn't know it at the time, obviously, but she was like, "I have this friend who does weddings, and he needs somebody to help him do weddings, and he'll pay you." I was like, "That's a great start," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, "Why not?" So I started, and then he pretty much helped me get gigs for other weddings and help him with weddings as well. So that's pretty much how I started out making it into a business. It took me a while to start doing esports though. It
Hmm.
took me a little while to start doing esports and what I do now, boxing. I was doing mainly street photography, lifestyle photography, but were more of just like I wanna do that those out of passion, not really like to generate any money, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
that
Oh,
would that and that's still a thought process to this day, is I do that kinda stuff to really like, keep sharp of my creativity, and then obviously weddings and all that stuff like that are to generate the money so I can invest back into the business.
yeah, so you got the stuff to pay the bills, and you got the stuff that it's like, all right, this is what I want
Yeah,
to do. Let me go out here shoot some stuff. That's cool. I really like that. And for you getting into esports, I can imagine one. I know you from Fortnite shoots, and there's been I could probably count them the number of actual in person Fortnite events that have happened. So
mhm,
definitely can't be an actual career unless you get picked up by an org and you're doing stuff with
yeah.
them. So I can imagine why you made the pivot, but how'd you get into doing various gaming things?
You know what's crazy about that is basically I started following Fortnite mainly because of Arab,
Okay.
right? So I started Fortnite because of the Arab, and also he was the first like influencer I did shoot. I literally traveled to Florida to go and shoot with the guy. But
Nice.
basically, what I did is I messaged after that air shoot. That was like the first one that really got me to like for people to look at me. Like Monster was the one that he hit me up first. When after he saw the air shoot, he started supporting a lot more right after that. But what I did after that shoot was that was kind of my introduction. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so after that shoot, I messaged various orgs. So TNA at the time, you know what I mean. I message Optimal Ambition. I message everybody, like everybody you could think of. I was messaging their owners. I'm like, hey, I would love to do like a merch shoot with you guys. If you guys would send me the clothes, it'd be dope. And nobody really responded, but except OA.
Mhm.
That's how I got started. I actually have the hoodie. Can you give me a real
Yeah.
quick
Go
second? I'll
for it.
show you the hoodie. All right, give me a second. So I still got it to this day too, and everything. You got a little pink OA. They sent me like a whole bunch of hoodies and a whole bunch of shirt and like sweatpants and stuff like that. And I told them I would shoot for free as long as they sent me the clothes. And they were super nice. Like I would say, they're one of the nicest organizations, nicest people that I've ever interacted with on Twitter or X now it is. But they're like what the org that I really like the people in that org. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now
So
they
they pretty much, yeah, they sent me
that's
everything. I feel bad, man. I feel bad because they're not
why.
an org. They're not really an org, but there was like the people that like her name's Trixie. Trixie is the one I messaged, and she pretty much said, yeah, she sent me all different, like she sent me like 6 pairs of hoodies, 2 sweatpants, and actually 3 pairs of hoodies just for just myself, sweatpants for just myself. So that was like my real introduction to esports, and it was a great thing for my portfolio. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because then you kind of get like the business case behind it of like, hey, yo, I did this for them. They sold merch. You guys should hit me up. But also, you shouldn't feel bad. Like you did work for them, and they gave you
Yeah.
apparel in return.
No, I just feel bad they're not at org anymore because
Uh
they were super nice. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, unfortunately, both the orgs you named, TNA and Optimal Ambition, aren't around anymore. Although
I know.
Kirsch teases every once in a while he's coming back. I don't see it happening. Um, Yeah, it's interesting. Orgs have come and gone, and people that are listening may not even know who Optimal Ambition are,
It's
but
crazy. It's crazy to me.
they had like Styx was signed. They had Aspect, I believe. I'm trying to think who else. Like
Like who
again,
fishy? Who
yeah,
fishy?
Who Fishy. That's when Who Fishy was balling.
Yeah.
Um,
And but what was crazy, like what was crazy about it is like now looking back at it, I did message Japple and I messaged Curse. Surprisingly, even they're like the one team that like I did message and I actually ended up working with them, but later on,
okay,
like for invitational and stuff like that. So I ended up working for TNA. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But yeah, that was my like because I used to play and I think right now Fortnite's at a great spot with the OG stuff. But by the way, I think org wise, it's such at a weird spot. And you would obviously know more than me, but I used to play a lot of competitive, and I used to like Fortnite was like before I started photography, I was streaming 6 7 hours a day just playing Fortnite, doing the tournaments and all that stuff like that. And I got decently good. I got decently good. Not gonna toot my own horn, but yeah, so I don't know. Fortnite for me right now, like org wise, is at a very weird spot because it doesn't seem like they're doing much for third part. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. It's hard to be an organization. At the same time of it's hard to people are going to say Fortnite doesn't support orgs, but at on the other hand, Fortnite has created a great infrastructure to support orgs. So it's more on like the organization to figure it out and get there versus okay, here, Fortnite Epic Games going to pay you X amount of money to play in their game, to have a roster, versus there are some teams. Actually, I don't even know that there's really many, but if you could build out a solid creative map team, you could build out solid content teams, which is another part of the problem with Fortnite rosters is people are not all in one place. So unless you're signing a bunch of people and like moving them into a location, you can't even really shoot with the talent that you're playing
Mm,
with or hiring,
yeah,
which makes it impossible. So like it is difficult, it is hard, but I think it can be done. Um, but you need patience, you need to create actual fandom, and you need to do things differently than most organizations have done so far.
yeah. I I would definitely agree. I don't know as much about it just because yeah, I've worked with so many orgs, so like I only know like the org's perspective of it. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I really only know the org's perspective because I talk with 50 a lot because I did I work for Dignitas too.
Okay.
So like even talking to 50 and talking to like various other org owners and stuff like that, like Elite Esports with Aaron, um, like I only really see the org's perspective. I could see how how the point would come across for Epic's perspective. You know what I mean? But there
Yeah.
definitely could be things that have been done. You know, they can do to better the org and the org's relationship with Epic Games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, one of the simple things was before this biggest global championship, they're like, yeah, actually. So they said org names could be in player names, and then they couldn't, and then actually they could. So it's like, bro, this is the biggest event of the year. If I can't even have my player representing in that, like, why am I signing competitive players? So that's a big piece of it, and I totally get why orgs don't want to get involved in the game. Like, it is not a simple game to make money in, um, but there is a path there that's in my brain that someone can do. Back to you though. Before we go on this massive tangent about orgs, you went ahead and spoke with uh, OA, and then you said that kind of gave you a portfolio to jump in and spread your wings, kind of figure out other ways to get shots. And what was like your favorite shoot so far in Fortnite or gaming in general?
Oh, man, that's hard because there's so many. You know what I mean? Like I was, there's so many. Like if you're talking about enjoyment over a couple days, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It 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 would definitely probably be either the shoot I did with Crip or the week that I worked with Dignitas. While the content wasn't top tier looking back at it now,
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the best weeks I've ever had, just like purely like shooting with the organization. If we're talking about one picture, it has to be the SETI picture. Like like it has to. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I don't say that, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So but I was at such a at the time with the SETI picture, I'm like I didn't even realize I took it. Like, looking back at it now, I hardly remember what I even did before I took that picture. You know what I mean?
All right. Let me, for anyone listening or watching and trying to understand what he's referencing. So you guys have probably all seen the picture. If you're fans of competitive Fortnite, at the FNCS Invitational in 2022, Queasy and Vino land on Cammy and Seti in the last game. Cammy and Seti kill them, and then you see Seti just flipping them the bird and looking in the direction. And there's an awesome picture. You can find it on Zach's profile. He has it right up there. That's the picture he's referencing. And again, that's an iconic picture. Like,
It is.
you may never do Fortnite again, yet you will be remembered in Fortnite, whether or not people know it, that it's like
Right.
actually you.
Yeah, no, exactly. And there was even like I worked one of the meet and greets that Dignitas did, and literally like a kid came up to me. He's like, "You Zax?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Dude, that SETI picture was awesome." I was like, okay. And what? I'm not, you know what I mean? I've never had that kind of stuff happen to me before. But yeah, the SETI picture, I think the two biggest shoots that propelled me into even getting farther and farther in esports were definitely the shoots. It was Crip and obviously SETI's picture. Right after the SETI picture, people went crazy over it,
Yeah.
and even like it landed me stuff to do, like to work with Elite, to work with other people. You know what I mean? Crip was the one that actually got me the got me to work with Elite.
Okay.
So that's how I started working with Elite and Dignitas too. Like again, like I've worked with so many orgs. So the two biggest ones were Dignitas and Elite. Elite I worked with a hell of a more, like a lot more times than I've worked with Dignitas. But basically 50 saw the Crip shoot and I was at the beach. I remember when 50 messaged me. I'm like, who's 50? Like who is this guy? I look at I'm looking at it, I'm like, Dignitas. At the time I knew who Dignitas was. I was still into Fortnite competitive.
Right.
I was like, Dignitas, who's that? I'm like, oh, got Dukes? What? Because I didn't know at the time, and I think this was Dukes had just. When did Dignitas sign Dukes? Was it after he won with Booger or before? Like I'm trying to like
It definitely was after, because I feel like
after,
when
right?
they won, when it was still trios, Dignitas was not involved really.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm scrolling. I'm at the beach, and he hits me up. I start getting excited. I'm like, like this is crazy. It's because I worked with Dignitas before I worked with Elite. Uh, Dignitas were my first T1 org that I worked with.
Okay.
So so yeah, I'm scrolling and then we get down to it, and we're at the 76ers practice facility for a week. A week straight, I'm at the 76ers practice facility, which is crazy. I was like, "Yo, this is nuts."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and, that whole week, I was pretty much, for the boot camp for FNCS where I think it was Miro came 2nd by, like, 1 point. I'm trying to remember, was it Commandment? I'm trying to remember who won that one. Not Commandment, who the one where Miro literally, like, he was 1 point behind, like, 1 point, he lost by 1 point when the guy got, like, his last game, he went crazy and just beat him out.
I think
Trying to
that
remember what
was Commandment. Would that have been in the fall, right?
I think it was during summertime. It was around summertime.
Oh,
'Cause I
I don't
remember it being
remember.
really hot. I remember it being really hot those days, that's why.
Okay.
But, I think it was, yeah, it was Commandment, and I think, yeah, it was Commandment, and this is both for invitationals.
Yeah, that makes sense because they would have Invitational was in October, so then they would have
Yeah.
had like August would have been the last FNCS.
Yeah,
So yeah, about
exactly, yeah.
August.
Yeah, so for, like a week straight, I worked with them, and that got me a really good relationship with Dukes, Miro, Polarized, and, I forgot who else was there. Trying to remember. Oh my god, I can't remember. I think it was just them 3.
Yeah.
Duke, Miro, Polarized. Yeah, it was just them 3. And obviously Henry, who's Dignitas manager, because 50 couldn't make it at the time. But it got me a really good relationship with them to the point where, like, even after it, they both like Dukes is one of the nicest kids I met ever. Like in my whole like career doing this,
Hmm.
like he's one of the nicest kids. Like I met even at Invitational, even when I was like at the events, he would come up to me. He said, "Zach, what's up? How you doing?" I'm like, "Yo, like you would remember me and stuff like that." You know what I mean? Like that, it kind of goes out. Like usually, what people in that position, what I do, it often gets overlooked, and like most people don't remember you, right? So for me, what I try to do while trying to do great work is to make connections and to bring out my personality when I'm working too, and not just being this guy who's like, here, picture done. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
silent behind the camera,
Yeah,
just gonna email you something afterwards.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had I had a great relationship with them, and they're all dope. I Polarize, Dukes, Miro, they're all great kids, and I'm
Yeah.
happy for Miro. I
I
know he just won.
I would agree. I had a chance. The only one like I actually spoke to was Dukes, and that was at Gamers 8 the first time. Good kid, just like kind of quiet, humble, not
Mhm.
really going crazy, confident in himself. But I appreciate him, and he always gets kind of the short end of the stick, being short. Everyone gives him shit because he's a short
No
kid,
pun
but like,
intended. No pun intended.
yeah, it's just he's a good sport about it, and he's honestly sick of the game, so they could all go shove
Oh
it.
yeah,
So,
right.
which is
I
cool.
was like, you can't really make fun of his man. Has made so much money off of it. Like, even if he stands on his money, he'll be taller than me. So I can't make fun of his height. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So no, but he's so nice, man. And like pretty much like I've never had a problem with anybody in the scene at all. I've never really had a problem with anybody in the scene. Everybody in the scene has been like so generous and nice. Especially I have to shout him out. Panda's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my whole like this man let me he didn't know me like that like crazy amount, and he still let me stay at his house in North Carolina for invitational, and I couldn't have done what I did in invitational without him. So I
yeah,
always I always show love to him because he's like one of the guys who really supported me and really showed me I can do it as a career. I just want to say, part of me does want to get back into the Fortnite scene because I
you
know
got
I'm
Atlanta coming up.
yeah I'm thinking about going. It would just have to be in an org would even want to invest in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it's just really based on that. But I definitely do. I hope there's some good events coming up in 2024, so your boy can get back into the scene because I think one of the things I regret, and I told Sapanda too. One of the things I regret is even talking about leaving the scene. It was for me. It's very stupid.
Yeah, but you don't have to though. Like no one cares. You want to come back, take pictures. You want to shoot
Exactly.
some
Yeah.
stuff. Like no one cares. Just do it.
Yeah, but it just hinders people wanting to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like me saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna be in the Fortnite scene," and like there's and that post got a little bit of traction. Like they wouldn't even they wouldn't even think about it. You know what I mean? Like say if I never posted that, right? And I stayed doing it again, most likely an org would have hit me up to do globals because
yeah,
I
it makes
know the org
sense.
needed people for globals. You know what I mean? So I'm saying you know what I mean a lot. Oh my god.
You're good. I think the hard part, especially with some like globals, is like you're US based. So it's just way cheaper to find someone in Europe versus fly you
Yeah.
out. Um, but you also do good work. And I think that's one of the things that I appreciate the most is it's anyone can be a photographer, not anyone can be a good photographer. And I
Facts.
think you understanding the game, understanding the like players and people, the personalities helps the photographs that you take
Mhm.
go to that next level. It's weird to say, but I feel like you create personality or like show personality, whether it be the people or yourself. When I kind of like, I'm just scrolling through right now,
Mhm.
and the things that you put on your profile are kind of solid, and it shows who these people are, and you get a
Mhm.
sense of that just from a picture, which is cool. Um, which
Appreciate that, man. Thank
it
you.
I think is one of the downsides of the way Fortnite is ran, because we don't get the personality, the people aspect of it as much, because 90% of the events are online. So people are just
Yeah.
online doing their thing and maybe they're streaming, but even then, it's still not the same as being in person at an event. And people like yourself capturing those moments, like those
Yeah.
are amazing. And within, I know you're a sports guy, within like sports as well, like the photographs, the capturing of the moment is so huge. And like those are the things that people, their memory is jogged by. Oh, dude, remember that Des Bryant catch where he bobbled it and then they called it not a catch? There's a
Yeah.
picture of that, and I'm sure that picture, if you
It was
guys
crazy.
watch the NFL, came right into your brain. So like there's certain things that just kind of re reinvigorate that memory.
Mhm.
And that's what photography and videography do. But yeah.
I would say, like, I think one of the most overlooked things about what I do is like people think they can often think they could just do it exactly how I do it and it become successful. Not saying I'm successful and I have all this money, you know what I mean? Like, but they think they could pick up a camera, look up a couple presets and really just run and gun shoot and think they're gonna become the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's one of the most and you don't know how many times I've got, "Oh my god, that camera's so good, it takes such a good pictures." That's one of my biggest pet peeves. If you tell me that, I will spaz, but not at you, but I will spaz when I get out. Like, when I'm out to shoot and I get into the car, I'm getting heated. You know what I mean? That's like let me give you a Fortnite analogy. That's like telling clicks, dude, your keyboard's so good, man. You play good because of that keyboard, right? Like, no, like it's not the keyboard that does it. It's the hands. Actually. But no, it's not the camera that does it. It obviously there's parts of it that can alter your image to make it look better, lenses, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But but you can't just if I hand somebody a camera that doesn't know how to do photography and put it all on manual settings, 90% of the time, they're not gonna know what to do. You know what I mean? And
Me,
that's what
I
yeah,
would
and
not
and
know
that's
what to do.
and I think that's what people often overlook about what I do. They think it's so easy. I'm like, "You try it then." I've done it. I've literally told because I feel personally like I was on a shoot and personally felt disrespected. So I handed them the camera. I said, "Here, try it." They couldn't do it because, and that's like, oh, it's so overlooked. Like people don't think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. It's not easy, right? And I respect people that can go ahead and do it, because I am not. one of those people. I've tried. I can take a
Mhm.
decent picture, but I can't take a good picture. I don't know how to set up the scene, set up the camera so it looks great. I understand basic lighting. I can turn my lights on. I don't for this podcast because it gives me a
Mhm.
headache.
Mhm.
But you know, when I'm on a show, you throw lights on, it looks better. That's about as in depth as I go. Of like, you want light in
Mhm.
front of you, you don't want strong light behind you, you don't want huge shadows. It's kind of the best I
Yeah.
got. But as
No,
far
but that's
as
good. Having the basic understandings are always a great base of doing photography or videography. You know what I mean?
yeah, and for you, you've kind of used this as a launching pad. So I know you from your Fortnite work. I believe Atlanta was the last time that we got to chat.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so it's been almost a year now, but you've now jumped into the boxing and sports scene a little more. Like, what has
Yeah.
that been? How did you get into doing stuff like that, and like who you working with? Tell me about that.
All right. So, I think it was around. It was right before Invitational. I think that June is when I started doing shooting boxing. I'm a big boxing fan. I watch boxing all my life. As you can see by my Twitter page, you can see I rant about boxing pretty much all the time when there's a big fight going on. So I rant about it all the time. But around June, I think before
Wait,
that too, like
hold
May.
on. Do you watch the Ngannou
I
Fury
did.
fight?
I don't get me started on that.
Oh,
I
here
will.
we
I
go.
will rant about that. I will rant about that when the time comes. But pretty much, around June, I didn't start. I started around May, but I went to a not a local, but it's a couple like 15, 20 minutes away from me. I went to a boxing gym and I offered the people again. I'll say one thing to any photographers, even like I say this all the time to the photographers I know, you have to offer something for free to get to the next step. So that's what I did. That's how I got to where I got to, right? I went to the boxing gym. I asked them, I'm like, yo, can I take some pictures of you guys training for free? And I got you. Whatever you guys, want to do, I'm down. I always shoot. So that happened. I built up a nice little portfolio of boxing shots and stuff like that. And then I went to and yeah, and I went to two amateur events in June. One of them were up in North Jersey. Uh, it was actually near New Brunswick. It
Okay.
was amateur Golden Gloves. That's what they call it. So amateur Golden Gloves, NJ Golden Gloves. I went there, and the guy I was gonna shoot there, he didn't have an opponent. His opponent pulled out last second. So I took some shots, went back home. But that's like a hour and a half drive. So I was like already like, oh my god, I wasted. You know what I mean? But I knew with that experience, the next week that came up, the local gym threw an event at. I don't know if you ever been to like Camden Waterfront and or anybody that's been to New Jersey. If you go right there for right next to Philadelphia, the waterfront or Penn's Landing, it's what they call the Battleship. So they
Okay.
put on an event there, and there was a fighter by the name of Raymond Ford. I still shoot with them to this day, Team Ford, you know what I mean? But I still shoot with them to this day. But he was there, and what I did is that while I was taking shots of the fights happening, uh, and I didn't go ringside. I asked, and they said no. You got to ask at least, right?
Yeah, you always gotta try.
Yeah, so I took a shot of him at the end and then went up to him. I said, "Yo, my name is Zach. If you need a photographer, I'd love to work with you." And I didn't know him like a crazy amount at the time, but
Hmm.
I've seen one of his fights. He fought on the Zone. The Zone's one of the biggest broadcasting networks of boxing. So I seen him. I seen one of his fights with my dad. Me and my dad watch boxing all the time. So I seen. I'm like, "Yo, he's from Camden. I live right next to Camden." I live very close to Canton. So I'm like, yo, it'd be dope to work with this guy. So I followed him, and then surprisingly later that night, or I think it was like, yeah, I had messaged him right afterwards, like later that night. And he said, yeah, whenever I come back from Houston, because he'll go out to camp in Houston, half here.
Okay.
So he was like, I got you. And surprisingly, the next night he was like, you want to come out take some pics at
Hmm.
the club with me and my friend, which is surprising because I didn't think he was ever going to respond back.
Yeah.
But I go out and we're out to like 4 a.m. I'm not a big drinker. I'm not a big partier. I'm not a big smoker. So we go out partying and well they go out partying and I'm with them. Let me rephrase that. But
Yeah, sure.
I take the pictures and he's like dead drunk by the time the night ends. That's the first time I've ever met him. Remember that. That's the first time I've actually spoke to him longer than a second. So it was funny though, but yeah, I sent him the picture. He was like, "Dog, I need you to become my photographer." I'm like, "I got you." So the next day is when I started to shoot boxing with him, and that's pretty much how it went. And the part of the reason why I was so conflicted with esports and boxing was mainly because of the fact that he had a fight in November, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, November I think it was. Yeah, he invitationals were November's too. The same day that he fought was invitationals.
Ah.
I had the chance to go to his fight to shoot, but I chose to do invitational, and that's why I was very conflicted going. You know, uh, a couple weeks before, I'm like, man, I don't know what to do. Like on one hand, I have a great opportunity in boxing. On the other hand, I have a great opportunity in esports. And obviously the latter, the esports was the one that gave me the greatest opportunity. What it looked like in both, you know what I mean, in both decisions. Um, so I picked esports. I didn't go to his fight. I did watch it at Panda's house. So luckily Panda let me watch it as his house. But yeah, that's pretty much how I started working with him. And then after that, I've been his photographer. I've been on the team for about a year now. I went to one of his fights in San Antonio. I shot his cams. And also, guys, if you didn't know, he fights at 126, which I think is flyweight or super featherweight, somewhere around that. But he is fighting for a world title in January. So he's gonna be
Wow.
fighting for a world title in January. So we're real excited for that. But yeah, the ride's been dope. And then I got to work with one of his coaches, Coach Anthony on YouTube. He has 200,000 subscribers. So I do his thumbnails, edit some of his videos. I record with him pretty much on the daily. So yeah, that's really how I started doing Boston, how I progressed more and more. But that Boston was the reason I stopped doing esports.
That makes sense. I mean, you had an awesome opportunity and especially get to work with a potentially world champion fighter. Like, even if that guy doesn't win, you get to go to the fight, you get to be there for it. Hopefully, he does. I'll root for him. And now it's giving you other opportunities because I feel like within esports, the whole kind of concept of capturing the story isn't fully developed and understood. Whereas
Mhm.
boxing, pretty much any mainstream sport. I guess maybe football isn't really the best of this either. Maybe every once in a while someone has a cool story, they'll do a piece on it. But anyway, boxing is really good at capturing the story because it's like this guy versus that guy. Every fight is a build up. Each boxer kind of has their own incentive to build up this whole storyline to create this buzz around a fight. And someone like you is perfect for doing that. Have
Mhm.
you gotten better at, like, I shouldn't say better. You haven't had to do as much work as far as I know, like storytelling with esports. Maybe a couple of things that I don't know off the top of my head, but it seems like working with a fighter with your photography. Are you doing any video with Ray Ford?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. Since right now he's not fully at camp, so like, and usually in the off seasons when we'll work here and there, but right when he's in camp is when I manage his TikTok as well too as well, and his TikTok and YouTube. So when he's on the off season, it's kind of very slow with him. So that's why I started picking up working with Coach Anthony. Um, so once the season gets back, um, obviously I'm gonna start doing video. But I created two. I would say a docu series. It was
Okay.
two episodes of the training camp. One episode was I think it was like three actually. No, it was four. It's a four-part series. Yeah, it went through when he was here in Jersey when he started training camp, and then I couldn't make it out to Vegas. I was supposed to go to Vegas for the rest of his training camp, but it was a couple like he was in a house with all different types of fighters, so I didn't have space for me. Uh, but he flew me out to San Antonio where he was fighting. I did 2 more episodes of that, and then one last episode after the fact, I believe. So yeah, and with esports, I've done a couple storytelling Alicia's announcement for
Okay.
Elite Esports. So that's like probably the one thing I would say that that took a whole lot of creativity and storytelling to really like show like that side. Other than that, for esports, I haven't really had to do a great amount of storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really the only thing.
Do you feel like it's better, worse, indifferent? Do you feel like you learn more when you have to do this kind of stuff? Um, because me personally, that's the hardest part of like any sort of content is like create the why behind it.
Mm,
And a good videographer, photographer, content creator is really good at like driving home why someone should care about whatever it may be, right? Like say I make food, why you should care about the food that I'm making. For you, it's like why people should care about the boxer that you're filming. Is that something
mhm.
that you found a challenge? Is it something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's always for me all my life. I felt like I've struggled creativity wise.
Really?
So any yeah, so anything that has really helped me open, like help my creativity is always gonna like it's hard because there was nights, bro. There was nights that I'm like trying to find an idea, you know what I mean? And I'm struggling to find these ideas, like having a block. So I say that's definitely the hardest part, other than the shooting and the lighting. I would say probably the hardest thing is creativity, and even with boxing, you do so much. I've done so much of it that you need to do something new, right? I don't want to have the same cookie cutter approach to the way I do boxing because at the end of the day, he's not gonna want to shoot at me if I'm doing the same things every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So I always try to be creative and be different. But yeah, I would say that's the hardest part because you don't want to be the same as everybody else, right? There's tons of other photographers that do bars, there's tons of other photographers that do esports, but what's the way I could be different from them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I struggle with creativity. Like for me personally, I do struggle with creativity. I feel like for me, I'm not creative. Like in my head, I'm not creative enough. You know what I mean? Like I always had to look for other people's inspiration and stuff like that, and try to twist it into my own. But to find an idea that came straight off my head is very hard for me to do. It's always been hard for me to do.
I would probably disagree. I would say based on your work, you're quite creative. Might just be you feeling like you don't know, but you actually do. I think your work speaks for itself when
I appreciate that.
you get to see and watch what goes on. But also like that mentality will keep you going. If you're like, oh, I'm not
Mm,
that great at this, you'll constantly be working to get better and better.
yeah.
All right, now let's talk about the Fury and Gano fight.
Can I say
Um,
one more thing? Can I
yeah,
say one more
yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah.
I would say I'm very good at like judging myself, right? I feel like it's like like self reflection. It's like the other day I did a studio shoot with Ray Ford, for a good friend of mine. He's one of his coaches. His name's Torrey Stevenson. He's cousins with Shakur Stevenson, one of the best fighters in the world right now. And I did it for his merch line. And studio, I'm not great at studio whatsoever. Like they still came out good, but I'm not great at studio. So that's like one of the things that I'm like, damn, I'm not good, but I want to get better. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like for everything, I always strive to get better. Like um, I would say the only downside to trying to get better is I'm gonna say my full equipment, but I've used the same lens for a really long time. Using the same focal length really discourages me because I don't want to get the same look every time. You know what I mean? But other than that, I just wanted to make that point. But yeah, the Fury and God actually. uh, we actually scored that fight live here in Ghana 2 days ago or 3 days ago on Coach Anthony's channel.
Okay.
We all scored it. Coach Anthony, he's a world champion coach, been in 10 world title fights, so he really knows the ins and outs. So I scored it. Don't get me wrong, Ngannou. I know you're inclined to say Ngannou won because of the fact that he's the MMA fighter. He's never boxed, and I totally understand. But I look at it from a pure boxing stance. Fury won that fight. I think Francis won everything else but the fight.
Okay.
He's won everything else. He's won the contracts. He's won the war at the end of it, but he didn't win the fight. That's
Yeah,
how I look at it.
I think for him, like, not a huge boxing fan. I like boxing. I like watching MMA and UFC. Um, I think for him and me personally, just looking at it, it's awesome to see him just be competitive in the
Yeah.
entirety of the event, because coming into that, I'm like, no way, this guy's got no shot. Fury's gonna make him look stupid. Probably gonna mess around for like 3 rounds and then finally put it on him. But I think from that moment that Ngannou knocked him down, I'm like, shit, this is real. This is
No,
like a real thing where he's gonna be competitive about this. And I mean, I guess that's part of the Ngannou story, where it's constantly like, you doubt me, I come in here and I
right.
show you. So that was awesome. Good for him. I mean, I know he didn't win. I don't know enough about boxing to know whether or not he won, but
Mhm.
I think overall, excitement wise, just being able to watch something like that was so cool. Watching like the crossover between those
Oh
worlds
yeah,
and not watching crossover YouTuber boxing
yeah.
versus.
But don't get me wrong. I actually like surprise. I'm a hardcore boxing fan, but I do like watching crossover boxing. Like, there's a couple of great fighters at crossover boxing. I say one like Dean the Great. Me and Panda are real big. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he likes watching crossover boxing. So we definitely bounce each other's like ideas, and we argue, debate, and all that stuff like that over certain things. But so I'm always gonna be a hardcore boxing fan. But my thing with Ngannou is like Ngannou did what Conor McGregor didn't when he fought Floyd Mayweather. And if you ever seen that fight, Floyd carried him the whole 10 rounds. But Ngannou's a very special guy. You don't there's not going to be another guy, in my opinion, even in the UFC, that's going to do what he did. And Sean O'Malley, I can't uh say it's enough. Sean O'Malley will not do what Francis Ngannou did, because one, it's at a lower weight class,
yeah,
which is a lot harder to do what he did, because heavyweight is more unpredictable, right? So it's harder to judge a fight with a heavyweight, because you don't know what the hell's going to happen. And Francis Ngannou has the hardest punch in all of UFC history. So why not? Is he not going to have the hardest punch in boxing? So so but at the lower weights, it's very predictable on what the outcome is. So if Sean O'Malley goes to fight Gervonta Davis, which is one of the biggest boxers in the world, he would lose to him, because one, is at a lower weight, and two, Gervonta Davis is very, very skilled. He's one of the best right now. But I think nobody can do what Ngannou did, and I give props to Ngannou 100%. But I did come into it, didn't think it was even gonna be competitive. But I think
same.
Fury took him very, very light, because he already had a fight lined up right after that. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
wonder if that fight even happens when it was supposed to. Now that'll be
No, no,
interesting.
no. It's not gonna happen. I think they signed for like January, February.
Okay.
But I think it was one of those classic tales of underestimating your opponent. And he says he's prepared and all that stuff like that, but you don't look like that and be prepared.
Yeah.
As a hardcore boxing fan, I know. So, but I think he did win the fight, but very, very narrow. I had it 594 for Fury, so I mean I had him winning one more round, but I thought it was extremely close, and I think it was probably one of those fights where I'm like, I think us as boxers, us as like hardcore boxing fans, I, I think there's a lot of very toxic, obviously, boxing fans. Same with MMA, but the boxing fans have to realize that a person can come into boxing and do well if they've never boxed before. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing the hardcore boxing fans haven't got through their mind. And same with MMA. some MMA fans are crazy delusional, thinking all these MMA fighters are gonna come in here and beat boxers.
Yeah.
Like that's not how it works.
Well, I
But
think the big thing is the only thing we've seen is kind of Floyd Mayweather toy with Conor McGregor for a little bit, and then like I don't that was not even that fun to watch, right? And
exactly,
you see that, and I'm like, oh, that's why I went into this. Like Ngannou has no chance. Like Fury's
yeah,
gonna mess around with him. He's gonna make this fight last as long as he feels comfortable doing, and then he's gonna put it on him, and the fight's gonna be over. But shout out to Ngannou for being able to push through what I did not expect to be even close, just like you. So
and Ngannou's a tough motherfucker, man. He's one of them. Like that's how I knew. Like, and you got to remember, he started MMA late and was a world champion. Ran through that whole division
mm-hmm.
except for like one fight. He pretty much ran through that division. So I was like, maybe he could do something in boxing, but I was also very skeptical of his technique, of his, you know what I mean? Which, and looking back at it now, I was wrong, 100%. And I'll say I'm wrong. I'm saying I'm wrong. People think that I'm not gonna say I'm wrong. I'm gonna say I'm like I know I'm wrong with that, but I give him a lot of props. He came in and did what nobody thought he was gonna do. But I think for him, it was definitely a financial. And I was just watching a thing. I don't know if you know Ariel Helwani.
Yeah, I do.
Ariel Helwani was arguing about Chael Sonnen. He said that was a financial win for everybody in Francis. I say no. I say Francis was definitely he got the financial win, but the Saudis pour so much money into that kind of stuff, like so they don't care if they lose $10 million. Like who cares? They, you know what I mean? They have so
Yeah,
much money. They were like, throw away 20 million. Who cares? You know what I mean? But I think it was definitely a financial win for Francis and Tyson Fury. But I think people have to start looking at it more as a boxing match instead of an emotional match. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like, don't look at it emotionally. Look at it in a expensive. If you know boxing, boxing is the rules that the judges go by is ring generalship, uh punches landed, and I believe it was defense. That's like the three major things. And Tyson Fury definitely had more ring generalship. He threw more punches in the punch stats. He did throw more punches, but while it didn't look like it. And I would say he had better defense because of the fact that Ngannou didn't land more punches.
yeah,
He didn't, so that's what people don't have. That's what people have to realize. And like, I know punches don't mean everything in a boxing match, but they mean a whole lot. A jab is one of the things that get a judge to be like, yeah, give him that round because he's jabbed. He's more active. You know what I mean?
yeah. If you're putting
So
something on somebody, like it's all about scoring points. People kind of look at it like a fight, but
mhm,
the best boxers realize that it's not solely a fight. You also score points, and you make sure
exactly,
you got your butt covered when it comes down to the scorecards.
exactly.
All right, want to wrap this up with you though because we're about 50-ish minutes in, and you have been doing this boxing shoots with Ray Ford. You got the fight coming up for the world title. Is this something where you think you would be able to work with several fighters, or at the moment are you just going to work with one, focus on this, and then maybe down the road he feels like he doesn't need a photographer anymore? You go to with somebody else. Like how do you see the rest of your career going this way?
I would definitely work with other fighters, but they have to be either on the level of him or have some sort of value to bring back. If that makes sense. So, for me, he's the number one priority goes as it goes with fighters. I'll always prioritize him, but if I also shoot with somebody else, that's not a particularly bad thing. It's like I don't want to have all my eggs in one basket. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
I
makes
don't want to have
sense.
all that eggs in one basket just to be like, and then get thrown away just in case. You know what I mean? I'm part of the team, and I'm very we're very me and Ray are very close. So, but I would definitely work with other fighters if the offer presents itself. But the priority would be him. because he's the one that gave me that first chance. You know what I mean? I go based off of who gave me that chance first and who's like shown more loyalty and like vice versa. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would definitely work with other fighters if the offer presents itself, but they have to have some type of value. We can't just be a guy that has no amateur fights, no, and just wants to be to shoot boxing with them full time. No, it's not.
Who
It's not gonna
would
work.
who would be like the dream person to work with,
Uh,
whether it be in fighting or anything else?
uh, yeah. Are you talking about any sport?
Any you get to work with
Okay.
literally any person in the world. Who you picking?
Oh, damn. That's a great question. Damn. I'm not a big soccer fan, so I'm not gonna say Ronaldo or Messi. I'm not a big soccer. But if I for okay, I'm gonna name like two sports. For football, I would say I would love to work with trying see now it's blanked in my head. I would say Jalen Hurts is one of the guys I would love to, or AJ Brown, because
Okay.
I'm an Eagles fan. Um, let me think of some other football player. I think one of my favorite basketball players, DeMar DeRozan. I would love to work with DeMar DeRozan. Um, Zach Wilson. Yeah,
Oh, all right. Podcast is over, guys.
no, but I would say the only other football player other than Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, would probably be trying to. I would say recency bias, but I would say CJ Stroud just because of the fact that how good he's been doing, and
Bro's
he's a great
balling.
guy. He's balling, and I actually one of my friends named Mike DeLeon. He's also a big box babe, but he started doing YouTube, and he started working for the Texans. So
Okay.
I would love to work with the Texans for some work like that. For boxing, talking about boxing, man, there's so many names. I'd love to work with Shakur Stevenson, which I know will definitely happen in the future. Um, for UFC, you gotta pick Sean O'Malley. Love to work with Sean O'Malley. He just seems like a genuinely funny guy. So I'd love to work with that dude, but I can't really pinpoint one dream person where I'm like, yeah, I need to shoot with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Hey,
for like
there's plenty of
esports, I would say
options.
clicks. Esports, I would say clicks, and I've been close to working with clicks. I've been very close to working with clicks, but there's not one set person where I'm like, damn, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. Hey, man, that's why you have a really cool job. You can literally
Oh yeah,
work with a bunch of people at once and continue to do your thing. But Zach, I want to say thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it.
thank you for
Learning
having
more
me. I
about
appreciate
photography, learn about some boxing today, which I kind of expected, but kind of didn't expect. I got
it.
more than I expected. But appreciate you, man. And do you have anything that people should be looking out for? Where can people find you?
You can find me on any platform. Shop by Zax, all the same on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok. It's all the same. I if all goes right with the events in Fortnite, I will be back to do esports. Also, I also want to look into doing football. Um, but that's one of the main things. So keep your eye on that. If all goes well with Epic Games, and hopefully they announce some good in person events. At least you know what I mean. If they announce some in person events, I will definitely be looking toward getting on Oregon and doing that stuff again because I really do like it. I really do love what I do and love that part of what I do too as well. But other than that, shop by Zax on all platforms. Make sure you tune in. I'm not gonna say the date, but on the zone, Raymond Ford is gonna fight for the world title. I'm not gonna say where it is until it gets announced. You'll see that on my Twitter or X. But I appreciate you, SBG. Thank you for having me.
Of course, man. Of course. That's shot by Zax ZAX, not ZACH or ZACK. Definitely have made that mistake before when searching for your profile. But thank you, man. And anybody listening, thank you guys. I know this was a little bit different of an episode, but I just like speaking to people I enjoy speaking to. So maybe more of these to come. And You guys will get more variety as we go. Photographer, videographer is going to provide you different insights to anybody else that we've gotten to speak to. So if you guys enjoyed this one, let me know in the comments or give me a rating on the platform. You could always send me a DM. Somebody's gone on X. That's all we got. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you next time.